Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name's Steveo. I'm one of the pastors here at LifePointe, and we are wrapping up this series called Getting There. And throughout this series, we've been really focusing on a lot of different things, but really kind of centered around our families, centered around our everyday lives and what they look like, and how we can get our families to where we're trying to go, and get our families to where we feel God is leading us, and really realizing that it's not so much about the destination, but really more about the journey that we live along the way. And that's something that I've learned in my life, and it's so true, not only in us personally, individually, but with our families. If we're not careful, we'll get caught up in trying to create a family that looks a certain way. And then when members of our family don't fall into the way we thought they would look and act and be, then we don't lead them right, we don't love them right, because we're looking on the outside, and we're looking at the things that they've done, and we're looking at what we're comparing them to, instead of seeing where is God leading us together. And so this Getting There series has really been very little about a destination and more about a lifestyle and a journey in doing that. And as we wrap this series up, I feel like there's one thing that if we don't get right, none of it is really going to work out. I feel like if we don't get this thing right, if we don't learn how to deal with this and manage this very important substance in our life, then we're going to miss it all. And very simply, what we're talking about is our time. Everything that we do is centered and based around our time. Our life is made up of time. Very simply, time is what life is made of. And so everything that we do takes time. Everything that we do requires time, and everything that we live by is based around the time that we have available. And so we're going to talk about how we can manage that time, and not just manage it, but how we can utilize it to further the kingdom of God, and how we can utilize it to become the men and women that God has called and created us to be, and what that looks like. So we're going to get real practical this morning, but before we even kind of get to there, I think I need to address what I think a lot of us are thinking and facing with this, and that's just that we don't have enough time, right? How many of y'all get stressed out when it comes to time? How many of y'all get stressed when you start thinking about time that you have? Right? Okay, some of y'all are honest, a bunch of y'all are liars. Right? So you get stressed about not having enough time to clean the house, not having enough time to get our kids to school when they need to be there, not having enough time to get the work done that you need to get done, not having enough time to do and see all the things that you want to do and see in life. Right? How many of y'all are really y'all are just late all the time? You're late to stuff. It's okay. We're family here. Family. Body of Christ. You can be honest. I don't like to think that I'm late or I have a problem with time. I just think that I'm very time optimistic. Right? So I grew up in Houston where going a mile takes 15, 20 minutes, right? So you just knew you had to leave an hour or so before you're going anywhere if you want to get there where you need to be. And growing up, my dad was if you're on time, you're 15 minutes early, right? So we were always rushing around the house, and there was 20 of us. But we're always we're getting there on time. Well, I guess moving to Victoria has kind of done something to me, and it's made me a little bit more optimistic about how much time I really have to get from point A to point B. Because really, it only takes 10, 15 minutes to get anywhere in Victoria from anywhere. That's what everyone says, right? In the 10 plus years I've been here, that's what we've always said. It only takes 10, 15 minutes max to get anywhere in Victoria from anywhere. And it's kind of true, but when you have that mindset, I tend to be at home and think, it only takes 10, 15 minutes to get there, so I'll leave in 10, 20 minutes. Then before I know it, I'm trying to get there because I'm running out 10, 15 minutes late. But I just always thinking I have more time than I really do. And if you're not careful, if you're like me, you fall into these moments where you just get overwhelmed by all that needs to be done and all that you're trying to do and the amount of time that you really have to get done. Right? And sometimes it's simple things just getting stuff around the house, or it's taking care of kids, or getting them from one place to the next. And sometimes it's a lot more serious. Sometimes it's I don't have enough time to get the bills paid. I don't have enough time to handle these issues, and it just gets overwhelming. And sometimes you have this feeling like Job did in chapter 3, and he's talking like all this stuff. If y'all know the story of Job, all this stuff has happened to him. All these things are going wrong, and he spends like a chapter or more, and he's just like, I don't know, he's venting, you know what I mean? And he's just like cursing the day he was born. He was just like, why was I even born? I don't know, I shouldn't have even happened, and I should have never got, survived, and all this stuff. And then here's what he says in chapter 3, verse 26. He says, I have no peace. I have no quiet. I have no rest. And trouble keeps coming. And every mother in the building says, amen. That's it, we're done. That's all I got for you. No, but don't you feel like that sometimes? You're just like, I have no peace. Nothing in my life is bringing peace to me right now. There is no such thing as quiet. There's no such thing as rest. I have no rest. And every time I look at life, I just see trouble coming back to me. The moment I think I've handled something, more trouble comes. And so we fill our lives because we're just trying to solve problems and we're overwhelmed by all that is facing us. And I know that you feel this way sometimes with your families. I know I do. I know we all get to that point. But for every moment where we feel we have no rest, God has a response. For every time that we feel like we have no peace, God has a response. For every time we feel like trouble is coming around every corner and we can't escape it, God has a response. And I just want to share with you a few of these responses. I think you have to understand this before we can move on and look at how we can lead our families and how we can manage our time properly and allow our time to actually work in our favor instead of being a burden on our shoulders. So when we have these Job 3 moments where we have no peace, we have no rest, moms, when you're just wanting your kids to be quiet. I watched this video, I don't know if y'all seen it on Facebook the other day. I watched it the other day, and then me and Tara watched it this morning. We just cracked up laughing. It's like a spoof commercial of this new quiet time spray stuff. Y'all seen that, right? The quiet time spray, some people are like, yes. And so she's already got it on order. It's like this quiet time spray stuff, right? They spray it, and they put it on the kids' mouths, and the kids they pass out, they just knock out. And at the end, there's a doctor. He's like, this is chloroform. You gotta do it, right? So I know sometimes you feel like that, and you're like, oh my God. Don't say, oh, that's a bad thing. You know, every one of y'all thought about it. I could just get my kids to just be unconscious for an hour, and I'll be good, right? Don't look at me like I'm a bad parent. You know you felt this way too, right? You got kids. Sometimes you get to that point. You're like, I don't care if you sleep or not. Go to your room and close the door. And don't come out until I come get you. Just leave me alone, right? You have those moments when you need rest, and when you feel like you can't find it, God has some responses. In Matthew 11, he says this, come to me, all who labor and who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So when you say, I have no rest, God says, come to me, and I'll give you rest. In Isaiah 40, it says, he gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They'll soar high on wings like eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not faint. Isaiah, you got to believe whatever comes out of Isaiah. This is the dude that called it all, right? You read Isaiah and it's he's talking about Jesus being crucified and for our iniquities and the sin. And you're just like, dude, this guy calls some stuff way before. So you got to believe when you're reading Isaiah. This dude, he was in touch with God. And he says that when you're weak, God gives you power. When you have no strength, he gives you strength. Psalm 55 says this, pile your troubles on God's shoulders. He'll carry your load. He'll help you out. So simply, whenever you have those moments where you feel like you have no rest, when you feel like you can't find peace, when you feel like trouble is around every corner, every time you try to do the right thing, stuff starts happening to you, you're losing jobs, your car's breaking down, your kids are going crazy, they've got all these sports and stuff and you can't afford it. Whenever trouble is coming, a family member is sick, this is real stuff we deal with. And when that happens, we have two choices. We can sit and try to figure it out and try to do it all on our own and put it on our shoulders, or we can put our troubles on God's shoulders. And simply put, we need to place our trust in God. See, we're so busy because we try to trust ourselves with everything. We're so busy and heavy burdened because we're trying to handle everything ourselves. When God says, you don't have to handle all that by yourself. I'll carry it for you. I was talking to some students last night. We're hanging out doing some stuff. and they're helping me out. And I told another guy who was helping us out when we're walking around, because I had these guys, we're carrying some stuff around. I was like, hey, here you go, you carry this, here you grab this and take it over here. And I told this guy, I was like, one of the things I've learned, probably my favorite lesson I feel like I've learned in the 10 or so years that I've been in student ministry, is to never carry anything myself. Like, when you've got students around, why in the world am I going to carry anything? Like, I just learned that a long time ago, and I live by it. And it's a great thing because you're teaching some responsibility. You're teaching and you're training, but at the same time, I'm like, why am I going to carry it when they can carry it? That's crazy. Here, you carry it. And God looks at us the same way. He's like the opposite. He's like, hey, why are you carrying that? I'll carry it. And when you realize that God is there to help you, when you realize that God is there to support you and He's there to make your burden light, then it's going to be a no-brainer to say, God, why am I carrying this doubt? Here, you take it. God, why am I carrying this fear and this pain and this stress? Here, you take it, God. I don't want it. You take it. God, why am I carrying the responsibility of making things happen that I have no control over? God, why am I carrying this? You carry it. And it's a very relieving thing to be able to realize that God can and will carry your burdens. And you don't have to, but it won't happen if you don't trust that He's able. If you don't trust that He's good, if you don't trust that He loves you enough to do it and that He really can, you're going to hold on to it. And you're going to hold on to it, and you're never going to let it go, and you're going to live in this lifetime cycle of having no rest and no peace and seeing trouble come around you from every corner. But the good news is we have an option, we have a choice to trust in Him. Now, when we talk about time, we tend to think about our busyness, our schedules, right? You're thinking, okay, I get it. Pastor's always talking about, you're too busy. You need to go to church more because you're not, you've got too much going on. And listen, I'm not saying that being busy is bad, because I really don't think it is. I'm a pretty busy guy myself. I've got a lot going on with work and all the ministry stuff that I do throughout the week. I've got a wife and kids that like to eat a lot, and they got to do stuff, and they want to, want to spend time together. And then, on a serious note, I've got kids, right? I'm trying to raise my kids. I want to spend time with them. I want to not be where it's like dad's always working, right? So I'm like, I need to spend time with my kids, so give them some individual time. And before you know it, your schedule is just so busy, and you're like, dude, I want to read my Bible. And I want to spend time in church, and I want to spend time in worship, and I want to talk to God. But you understand, I'm so busy, I can't. I try to fit it in, right? And we go a couple weeks where we're like, yeah, I read my Bible, and I did all that kind of stuff, and did some devotionals, and then he's like, I got busy, I had work and things. And I'm not saying that being busy is bad. I'm just saying you can't confuse your busyness with effectiveness. Because just because your schedule is full doesn't mean that you're being effective. And just because you're busy doesn't mean you're doing something, right? You ever been that where you're in a season, you're like, I'm busy, but I'm really not doing anything. And you're kind of busy doing nothing. You're just doing busy work. That's what we call it, busy work. Because we get so used to being busy, but not being effective. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying we need to learn to not try and squeeze God into our busyness, but center our busyness around God. If you're going to be busy for something that's worth it. Be busy for something that matters, and put God right smack dab in the middle so that He can have hands in everything. So when all the busyness that you got going around is becoming too much, He's right there. God, take this burden from me. God, take this weight from me. God, take this stress from me, because I can't carry it alone. So I'm not saying that busy is bad. I'm just saying that we need to stop trying to just squeeze God in and give Him a couple minutes here and there when we're not busy. Because then we start saying things like, you know what, I want to serve and I want to do this, but I've got so much going on right now and I'm really kind of busy. I'll have to wait until I'm not busy. I'm going to wait until my schedule frees up. But that never happens, right? You think it's going to happen, but then it just doesn't. You're always going to be busy. You're always going to have stuff going on. So you can't just say, when I'm not busy, I want to find time for God. We have to start working Him into our busyness. So I want to get real practical with you guys. I really do. I want to help you learn how this summer and this year and this season you can find rest, find peace, and begin to manage your time properly, because we said time is what our life is made of. So if we're wasting our time, we're wasting our life. So it would be a shame to live through life doing nothing because we're wasting it, instead of being effective so God can use us through it. So the first thing we really need to learn to do, that I think a lot of us probably don't do very well, is plan rest into our schedule. Just plan it into there. You've got to rest. If you don't rest, you're never going to have the strength to just kind of let go of all the things that are weighing you down. You've got to plan rest. If you don't plan it into your schedule, it's not going to happen. So just plan it in there. Off the bat, say, you know what? Like, there's going to be time where I don't do anything. There's going to be time where I'm just like going to put things down and allow myself to be refilled. And you're going to be a better mom and a better dad and a better husband and a better wife if you allow yourself to just kind of recoup. Allow yourself to get some of that rest and strength back in. And Matthew 6 says this, and there's a few ways that we plan that rest in our schedule. I know it's tough. You think, like, how do I do that? Like, is it certain days or whatever? Well, this is real simply how we can do that. Matthew 6, verse 6, it says, here's what I want you to do. Find a quiet, secluded place so you won't be tempted to role play before God. And you can preach a whole message on that right there. How many times are we like trying to do the church thing and we're just really like playing a role before God? We're like trying to sound Christian. We're trying to pray the right way. So get away from all that. Get away from other people. Get alone to yourself so it's just you and God. You can put all the barriers down. You can put the walls down. Get alone before God and just be there as simply and honestly as you can manage. The focus will shift from you to God and you'll begin to sense His grace. I mean, isn't that what you want in your life? You want to sense God's grace, God's presence in your life? Look, someone can tell you all the things that you should and shouldn't do all your life, but until you have a realization and understanding of how great God's love and grace is for you, it's never going to make an impact in your life. It's not about you being a good Christian and doing the right things and showing God how much you love Him. You really don't know how much you love Him until you know how much He loves you. And so we do that by getting alone. Just you and God. Shifting the focus from you and your burdens and your troubles and your worries and all the things that you want and need, and just allowing God to be there in your presence, working in your heart, working in your life. And it says in His Word, it says, you're going to sense His grace and His presence. I mean, isn't that what we want? We want to feel and understand that God is real. We want to experience it more than just in our head, but in our hearts and our souls. And God says, you can do that. All you got to do is plan some time alone with me. Plan some of that rest in your schedule. Here's how we do that. First, we got to divert daily. Divert daily, on a daily basis. Exodus 20, verse 9 says, work 6 days and do everything you need to do, but the 7th day is the Sabbath day to God, your God. Don't do any work. Not you or your son or your daughter or your servants or your maid or your animals, not even the foreign guests visiting in your town. For 6 days God made heaven, earth, and sea, everything that we see, and then He rested on the 7th. And this happens when we start daily giving our lives to God. So on a daily basis, look, we learn how to tithe our resources to God, right? But we don't tithe our time. We're like, God, I'll give you some of my money, I'll give you some of my resources, but I can't give you my time. I don't have enough of it. What would happen, I wonder, if you begin to give God just a small bit of your time? Maybe not even 10%. Give Him 10 minutes. God, I'm going to give you the first 10 minutes of my time, of my day. But when I wake up, before I open my phone and start looking at Instagram, start looking at Facebook, start checking Snapchat stories, instead of doing all that, God, I'm going to open my Bible app. Or I'm going to pick up a Bible. Or I'm just going to walk away and get before you alone and just pray and listen to some worship music. You know, I mentioned a couple weeks back that Terry and I bought a house a while back just on the outskirts of town. So the really big negative about that is no one will deliver to us, right? So I have to drive into town to get my own food. But one of the things that was really cool was that I realized hey, when I'm driving into work and stuff in the morning, I can listen to maybe 2 songs now. You know, on my way over there. Before it was time you get in the car and you drive, you find a song, you put it on, and it's over, and you're like, oh, I'm here. Okay, I got one song. It gets hard to pick one song, right? But I was like, man, it's a little bit further drive. Now I can listen to a couple songs, right? So I start putting some worship music on, and my commute to work every day is time spent talking to God. And maybe you just need to, like, every day say, you know what, I'll listen to talk radio later. I'll listen to, Bieber later. I'll listen to, because I'm believers. Yeah, no, it's a believer. So, like, we start, maybe just give God that time. Say, God, I want to just, like, get some worship music going. I'm just going to talk to you. Like, yes, people are going to look in my car and say, who is she talking to? Like, what are they doing? It's okay. Everyone has Bluetooth. Don't just think you're on the phone, right? So you can just talk to God and just, like, give him that first few moments of your day, that first few moments of your life that day, and say, God, I'm going to spend this time with you. And do that every day. It'll create a habit of spending time in God's presence. It'll create a habit of seeking God in your life. I mean, because honestly, I think a lot of us are here this morning, and someone said, like, do you seek God out in your life? Do you spend time? You're like, yeah, I do. And then you have to think about it, and you'd be like, because I go to church. Think about God sometimes. But you couldn't answer and say, yeah, dude, every day, man, I'm like seeking God every day. I get in my word every day. I'm spending time in worship. I'm getting my heart right with him. I'm praying and talking to him, like, on a regular basis. Yeah, I'm doing that every day. It's awesome. I can't get through my day without it. Like, a lot of people like to work out in the morning. I like working out in the morning. It makes me feel better throughout the day. Like, kind of wakes you up, gives you some energy, right? Like, it's the same thing with God. Like, you start giving God, like, your morning and allowing him to work in your heart, work in your spirit. Like, it just gives you, like, the energy to get through your day. And so every day, everything that comes to you that day, you kind of look back to that morning and what God spoke to you. Because he already knows what you're going to face. So he knows what you need to hear beforehand. He knows the strength that you need. He knows, like, the answers that you need and the peace that you're going to need that day. So why not go to him first and get that from him instead of carrying it on your own and coming in here every week heavy burdened and weary and tired. Sometimes we can't even make it in because we're just so beat down from the week. So we got to get away on a daily basis. God, I need to be in your presence daily. And then we talked about the Sabbath. We have to begin to withdraw weekly. Like, Sunday is kind of like our Sabbath. It's our day to get away. 6 days a week you work in your life. So one day a week you need to be working on your life. Right? It's what you do to, like, give you the strength and the fuel to get through your week. It's what we do to say, you know what, God, I've got a lot going on, but I'm planning in my life and in my schedule time to be with you. Because no matter what I have going on, if I don't have time with you, I'm not going to get through all the other stuff. And I want to challenge you guys with that. I mean, I know most of us come here a lot, and I mean, you're here this morning, so I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad at all, but, statistically, people in America today, and even in this region of the country as well, attend church once, maybe twice a month at the most. It's kind of on average. And I'm not saying that to be like, we need to have more people in the building for this, this, and this. I'm saying people need to be in God's presence more. It's why we're dealing with so much in our lives. It's why we have so many people that are heavy burdened, so many people that are so far from Christ, because we're not spending time in his presence. We're not prioritizing him in our lives. We're just trying to squeeze him into our busy schedule when and where we can. But I wonder what that would look like if we said, you know what? For the next 6 weeks, I'm going to, every day, I'm going to give God 10 minutes or so. Every day I'm going to give God some time in my life, and every week we're going to come to church as a family, and we're going to worship God, and we're going to allow him to work in our hearts and work on our lives. So I can be a better mother, so I can be a better father, so I can be a better parent and a spouse, a better child, a better teenager. Right? We want to be a better friend, a better boss, a better coworker. These things happen when we allow God to be all in the middle of our busyness. When we take time out and say, you know what, God, I need to spend time with you. I mean, I promise you, it'll be worth it. I promise you that because we all have those days where we're tired, right? You wake up Sunday morning, you're like, dude, I'm so sleepy. It'd be so nice just to, like, curl back up in these blankets, right? And we've all had those days where the blanket won, and you curl back up and you're like, whatever, I'm going to sleep. And I will wake up when I'm late. Now, oh, I'm too late. Oh, well, I might as well just sleep in, right? You keep like debating it. And then we have those days where we feel like that, but we're like, no, we got to go. And we get up and we go anywhere. We go anyway. And we get to church, and then at the end of it, I don't think there's anyone who's ever had that feeling and then showed up on a Sunday morning and just said like, man, that was a waste of time. I should have stayed in bed. I think most of us would say like, we've had those experiences and we're like, man, I'm glad I came after all. That was good. Preacher's really good looking. The music was really awesome. That was good. I feel good about it. I'm glad I did that. I feel better. I feel like I'm going to have a good week, man. I'm going to start this week good. I'm ready for Monday. Right? So I wonder what that would look like if we did that on a regular basis, just getting refilled weekly. And then after that, not just that, but if we're going to find that rest, really, honestly, we got to learn how to abandon annually. You got to take time away. So you have permission to miss a week of church a year. Just make sure you tithe online. But you have permission to miss a week. Because you got to get away. Especially if you have families, you got to take a break. And I laugh sometimes at some people when they have these vacations. And I'm like, dude, that doesn't sound like a vacation to me. That sounds like a whole lot of work. And I just don't want to do like I'd be stressed out. And some of y'all come do that. Y'all go on vacations. You come back like with more gray hair and like you're angrier at each other. You're just sunburned and angry, right? You're like, because like you spent all your money and then like you're just frustrated because you just like had this, you try to cram all the things that you can't do all year into 1 week. Like, and you get home from vacation, you're like, I need to take a week off of work just to sit and do nothing. Like, I mean, vacation's meant to like do nothing. So go see your stuff, go visit your places and do some things, but man, rest. Take time away annually. Just say, you know what? I need to look at what God has done in our lives and our family this past year and what we think we want to do this next coming year. Like, allow God to speak to you. God, what are the things that we need to do? Like, and what do we need to change? And what are we holding on to and not trusting you with? And just begin to let those things go. Say, okay, God, I'm just going to give this to you. And just spend that time. So we're talking about our time, guys. We're talking about our life. Not wasting our life, not running ourselves into the ground throughout our life because we're trying to hold everything on our shoulders. Here's an example, Mark 6. Verse 30 says, the apostles returned to Jesus from their ministry tour and told him all they had done and taught. And Jesus said, let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest a while. So Jesus thought it was a good idea, after a lot of work, a lot of ministry, to take some time off and rest. This is Jesus, right? The guy that can like walk on water and pretty much do anything is like, you know what? I'm going to take a break. Let's just chill for a little bit. Like, what's on Netflix right now? Let's binge watch something, right? Like, he's like, let's rest. He didn't say, like, hey, let's go visit this place over here. I heard it's really cool. They got some awesome olive trees and stuff. And no, he was like, let's just take a break and just rest. And when you read throughout the Gospels, Jesus working and healing people and doing ministry and traveling, and then it says, like, the disciples turn around and like, oh, Jesus went off to a mountain somewhere or went off, into the wilderness somewhere. And what was he doing? He was taking time away to spend with God. He understood that if he was going to walk, if he was going to live out the purpose that God had given him, he was going to have to spend time with God throughout the journey. He couldn't just make a choice and say, God, you're my father, I'm your son, awesome, I'll see you on the other side, and then just take off and do his thing. He had to stop and say, God, I need some more of you. I know I'm the Messiah, but I need you to like refill me and re-energize me and encourage me and take these burdens that I have and this heaviness that I'm carrying. I need your peace, God. Jesus needed rest. Jesus, who in the beginning is the Word that brought the world to life, says you need to rest. He didn't say you need to quit being so busy. He said you need to find rest. And when you do, put your trust in God. He'll take your burdens. He'll take your trouble. He'll take your fears. He'll take your doubts. He'll carry them for you. You don't have to walk around life carrying that. Having a family doesn't have to be stressful. Living life doesn't have to be something that you're afraid of and something that you never have peace from. And you don't have to make more money than you make now to be happy with where your life is. You don't have to have what your neighbor has for you to have peace. You don't have to be able to do what your friends are able to do in order to feel like you don't have troubles. You just have to put your trust in God. Jesus did it. So I think it's a good idea that we do it as well. And here's why it's so important that we do this. We're not only getting rest in our lives, we're not only like getting refilled and refueled and like kind of directed, but what you're doing is you're becoming in sync with God. The more time you spend with Him, the more you're going to know Him. The more time you spend talking and listening to God, the easier you're going to recognize His voice. If I was at HEB Plus, which I am a lot, walking around buying groceries and stuff, and one of you was like, "Hey," and just I heard someone yelling, "Hey," I probably wouldn't like turn around and like he's talking to me, right? I wouldn't think of that. But if Tara was in HEB and she said, "Hey," I'd be like, "Tara? Oh, hey, man, what's up? What's up, girl?" Right? Because she's pretty good looking. And so, I would recognize her voice like in a huge crowd. Why? Because I spend a lot of time with this woman. Everywhere I go, she's there. I can't get rid of her, right? Nah, I'm playing. She's always there. I'm always talking to her. I'm always speaking with her. I'm always listening to her. And so her voice is so unique to me. Like I hear the nuances of it and the like complexity of it. Like it's not just noise or sound. Like it has, like it's almost like a being of itself. It's a voice, and I recognize it in an instant. I recognize my kids' voices in an instant. I remember Tara and I, when we just had Judah, who's a little baby. I mean, he was little. He's barely walking. Like, walking, but like easily falling down. That kind of walking. And we were hanging out with some friends of ours, and there was a bunch of us there, and like the girls were going to stay at the house with the kids, and they were like talking, and they were doing some stuff and hanging out, and the guys went to go see some, movie. So we went out and saw some movie. We were coming back to the house, and all of us guys like got to the door, and before we got right up to the front door, and all of a sudden, we heard a baby crying. And so we're walking to the front door, and we hear there, and we all started looking, and they're like, "Who's that? Is that mine?" And they're like, "No, that's mine." I was like, "No, that's mine. I know." I was like, "That's mine." They're all asking, like, "Is it yours?" I don't think so. I'm like, "It's mine. That's you." I knew it. I knew his cry. I heard that baby cry so much the first 2 months of his life. There was no mistaking it for me. I knew his voice, and we walked in, and I walked in quickly. I was like, "Where is he okay?" And sure enough, there's Judah. He fell down and bumped his head and something, and he was crying. And I knew it because I knew his voice because he was so close to me. I held him close to my heart hours and hours and hours. I've heard his voice so much. There's no mistaking it. And when you spend time with God daily, when you make a point weekly to be in His presence, when you take time annually to say, "You know what, God, I'm going to get rid of all distractions, get away, get rest, get refueled and refilled, and also like get more in tune with you." As you're walking through your life throughout the week, throughout the months, throughout the years, when God speaks to you and guides and directs you, you're like, "Ooh, that's God. I hear Him. I know His voice. I know the way He nudges me. I know the way He's leading me because I've spent so much time talking with Him. I've spent so much time walking alongside Him. I know that's God." So this isn't just about like having a good day and managing our time and not getting to the end of the day, but it's about getting closer to God. It's about finding the one that we can trust in. It's about being in His presence and knowing His voice. Because there's some great things that happen when you begin to hear His voice. Galatians 5, it says, "Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit." A lot of times in the Bible, the Spirit's referred to kind of like a wind. It's something that we can't see, but we see the effects of it. You know, we don't visibly see it, but we know it's there. It has a presence, and it does things. And God's Spirit is what drives our lives. It's the wind behind our sails. And so sometimes we just got to put our sails up and trust that God is going to blow us in the right direction. And when you don't know what to do, you don't know what direction to go, just see where God's blowing in your life. It's okay to be uncertain sometimes and say, you know what, I don't know if I should do this or I should do that. Well, why don't you try and see where God's clearly blowing on? See what direction God's clearly making things happen. Okay, well, I think he's pushing me in this direction because it just keeps working. On the flip side, you're like, I keep trying to make this happen because I know I think that's what God wants me to do, and you keep trying to make it happen, and it just doesn't work. You're like, I don't know why I can't get this thing to work. I don't know why I can't get this job to work out the way it is, or why I can't get this job over here, or why this isn't working. Well, maybe that's just not where God's pushing you and blowing in your sails. He's not directing you there. And so the more we spend time with him, the more we recognize his voice and we see where he's leading us and he's guiding us. Instead, most of us put our sails up and then we start blowing into them. It's not going nowhere. Okay, fam, come on, kids. It's all together. Like, dude, you're not going to make the boat go anywhere. You don't have enough. But we put more trust in what we have inside of us than what we can't see. But when you begin to trust the wind that you can't see more than the wind that you can create on your own, that's when the boat starts moving. And so don't put your trust in what you can do. Put your trust in what God can do. Don't make your life about your busy schedule. Make your busy schedule about God's life for you. Let him guide you. Let him direct you where you need to go. I'm going to close kind of telling this story. This parable in Matthew 25, and I'm not going to read it all because it's kind of long, but it's a story of Jesus is using a few different parables to talk about the kingdom of heaven. And he gets to this one where he talks about these three servants and he gives some money. So he gives like a lot of money to one guy, a little bit less to another guy, and a little bit less to another guy. And he says, I'm going to come back, and see what you guys have done. And so one guy that gets the most amount of money, he does some stuff with it, and he makes more in return, right? And the other guy does the same thing, and he gets a little bit more in return. And the guy that was only given a little bit of money was kind of like scared to lose it, so he buried it in the ground and waited. And so when the master came back to say, okay, what you got for me? What'd you do with what I gave you? The guy's like, hey man, you gave me this much. Look, I got this much for you. He's like, dude, that's awesome, sweet. And the other guy's like, you only gave me this much, but you know what? I did what I could with it. Made you a little bit more, here you go. He's like, awesome. And then the last guy was like, hey, you know what? I was afraid to lose what you gave me. I didn't want it to get wasted or lose it, so I buried it in the ground so it wouldn't get lost or stolen. And his master's like, you lazy, wicked servant. Like, what have you done? You could have at least given that to a banker to get some interest. You could have done something with it, but instead you chose to do nothing with what you were given. And he's like, take that and give it to the guy that has a lot. And the whole point of this is to show, God has given us something. He's given us life. He's given us time. And it's not for us to squander. And so many of us hold on to it, like that last servant, and say, I don't have that much time, God. You haven't given me that many years, that much time. Look at my schedule. I can't really do anything with it. I've got to hold on to it. I've got to hold it close because I'm afraid of losing it. I'm afraid of running out of time, so I'm going to hold on to it. And God's saying, I didn't give you a life and give you time for you to just hold on to it and make it only yours and no one can touch it. I gave it so you can give it away. I gave you life so that you can give life away. I gave you time so that you could use it to serve others. What we give our time to, what we give our life to, proves what we value most. I'll put it this way and then we'll close. Just imagine this stage was not a big, wide stage, but maybe it was just a beam or a board only a foot or two wide that stretched across here. And I stood over here on this side and I said, hey, listen, if you'll come over here and you'll walk from this side to the other side, I'll give you $100. How many of y'all would do that? Y'all are chicken, right? It's only like 3 feet up, like, right? Most of y'all would be like, $100, heck yeah, I'm doing it, right? Because it's like you fall, oh well, you trip, you look kind of silly, whatever. So you would do it. What if I raised the stakes a little bit? I said, okay, same board. Now we're going to lift it up about 10 feet in the air. But instead of $100, I'm going to give you $1,000 if you make it across. That's 10 feet up. If you fall, you probably are going to break something, right? Like you should fall wrong. That's going to hurt, right? You're not going to fall and laugh at that one, right? Other people will laugh at you, but you're not going to be laughing. How many of you guys would still do it? A few of y'all? Some of y'all, you don't understand my situation. I need that money, bro. I'm going for it. Okay. Let's say we raise the stakes even higher. We said, okay, now we're going to take this board and we're going to lift it up 12 stories in the air. Stretch across 2 buildings, 2 One O'Connor plazas. 40, 50 yards in between. It's a windy day. And on the other side, if you can make it across, I've got $100,000 for you. Cash money. How many of you guys are making that walk? This dude's like, bro, you're speaking my language. All right. I'm probably dumb enough to try too, right? You're like, you don't understand my situation. This can change my life, all right? One way or the other, my life's changing. All right, so I'm going to do this. Okay. So there's a few daring people. A few of y'all got some confidence in your skills to walk. Not afraid of heights. Okay. Now let's say we change it up a little bit more. Same building, same board, same height, all that good stuff. But instead of holding $100,000 for you, I've got your kid. And I'm not feeling very kind at the moment. And I start telling you, if you don't walk across and come get your kid, I'm dropping him. How many of y'all are making that walk? Some of y'all are bad parents. I'm kidding. I'm sure every parent is, yes, raise their hands. Some of y'all just forgot deodorant, so you don't want to raise them up too high. I got you. We just discovered what you guys value the most, right? Because money means a lot. It does. You need it. I need it. We all need it. If you got some extra, I'll take it. But money's nothing compared to our kids. I wonder if instead of it was our kids, it was life and death on the balance. If there were souls on the line, our family and our loved ones, the people that live around us, if their souls depended on it, heaven and hell in the balance, would we make that walk? You know, I think if I could save someone's soul, I might just give it a try. Because what else? What else is our time or our life meant to be about? And in case you haven't figured it out yet, there's lives and souls on the line. We have our own life to live, but there's souls on the line. And what we do with our time, what we do with our lives, has an impact on souls. So who are we going to trust with our time? Who are we going to trust with our lives? What are we going to make our time about? That's the real question. Let's pray. God, you've given us so much. You have given us life, love, and forgiveness. God, help us to not squander what you've given us, but use it to further your kingdom. God, God, I don't want to be the servant that you look at and say, what did you do, you lazy, wicked servant? You could have done something with your time to bring more souls back to the kingdom. God, for every believer here in the room, I just ask that you would show us how we can use what you've given us for your glory, for your honor. Maybe you're here this morning and you say, you know what, Steve, I don't know. I've never thought about doing all this daily stuff with God because it's just never been, I don't think it's ever been my God to spend time with. Maybe you grew up in a family where church was not something that you did, or maybe you grew up in a church family, but it was never your God. It was never your faith. You're just doing your duty and showing up. There's no better time than now. There's no better day than today to make a choice. To lay your burdens, to lay your troubles, to lay your sins on the shoulders of Christ. Pick up his peace. Pick up his righteousness. Pick up his forgiveness. I don't know what you've done with your life so far. I don't know what you've done with your time. And maybe you feel like you've gone too far. You've wasted too much. You've walked too far. But no matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, there is a God who loves you. A God who wants to show his grace on your life. If you would just trust in him. And if that's you, I just want to pray with you. A very simple prayer. And listen, it's not about the words that you say. These aren't in a special book somewhere. This is just you spending that time speaking to your God and your Savior. You say, Jesus, I know I've messed up. I haven't used my life wisely. It's been about me, and I've sinned. Jesus, I believe that you died on a cross to give me new life because you have forgiven me of my sins. Jesus, I want to trust in you as my Savior. Make me new. Give me peace. Help me to follow you. Lord, help all of us to trust you with our lives, to trust you with our time, to put you first. God, that we would lead our families closer and closer to you. We thank you for the grace that you've shown us, for the never-ending forgiveness that you have for us. God, we just thank you that you made that walk. That you weighed the cost and you made a choice to make the walk for us. Give us the strength and courage to do the same for others. Jesus, in your name we pray.